Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Unintangibles. I am today's host, Mo Aurora, and joining me, as usual, Jeff Shuela. Hello, Jeff. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm recovered from yesterday. It was kind of a blurry marathon, but I feel okay. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, yesterday was a overall pretty great day of football and fantasy football, and yet today, on Monday, it's over, and all I'm thinking about is there's a lot of drama happening in the news right now. Breaking news. If you haven't joined us, over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of news about Josh Gordon. Very quickly,
Mo's boyfriend, Josh Gordon. Your boyfriend, your BFF.
Everybody's fantasy football boyfriend, Josh Gordon. So this is my understanding. So whatever's wrong is wrong. Whatever's right is right. But my understanding is he showed up late to work one day, and his hamstring injury had been re-aggravated at some sort of media event or photo shoot or something. And the Browns freaked out that Josh Gordon's being Josh Gordon again, and there's a problem. So they ruled him out for the game, and then they announced a day ahead of time that they were going to cut him, which was essentially to say, here's the trade market. You have a day to trade for Josh Gordon, because apparently there are cap implications as to why it would be preferable, if you wanted Josh Gordon, to trade for him than to sign him after he got cut. So today we've just been waiting to see. There have been rumors. I've seen Baltimore. I've seen Dallas and San Francisco. Apparently Josh Gordon said so. Then it was Philadelphia for a while. Now it seems like it's the Patriots. Nothing official yet, but they're just saying that they're close. Man, I don't know if I can take it, but Jeff, what do you make of all this? You're somebody who I convinced to draft Josh Gordon. What do you think?
Well, first of all, we spent the first 2 minutes of the podcast. You did a little recap here of who Josh Gordon can go to. Mm-hmm. Obviously it depends on which team he does go to, but you're very high on Josh Gordon's talent. We saw it in week 1 on that one touchdown. He can definitely win a 50-50 ball. Is it too early to tell if could you have told in week 1 if his speed was there? I mean, someone was saying he couldn't get separation.
I don't know what to make of week 1. I think there's I'll put it this way. So let me ask you this. All right, I'll turn it back on you, but here's how I'll frame it. If Josh Gordon had just re-aggravated his hamstring and not played week 2, but was still a member of the Cleveland Browns and still going to be with the team going forward, how would you feel about that compared to all of this drama? But then tomorrow he might be a Philadelphia Eagle or a New England Patriot or anywhere else other than Cleveland, right? So
I think whichever team he winds up on, or even if he stayed on the Browns, he's not a wide receiver 2 in my estimation right now.
No, you're backing off of him?
No, I'd rather have Kenny Golladay than Josh Gordon right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Josh Gordon in one of your leagues. Would you trade him for Kenny Golladay?
And I don't regret drafting him, by the way, even though you definitely was influenced in getting Josh Gordon. Would I trade for Josh Gordon? No, I wouldn't.
No, would you trade Josh Gordon for Kenny Golladay?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So, but you bring up a good point. I did convince you to get Josh. I may have convinced a few of you to get Josh Gordon. I'm in the same boat too, and thank you for bringing it up. But here's what I'll say to that: is this is not good. It may turn out well, depending on if he goes somewhere else. But I wish that we didn't have to deal with this. But remember the gist of what I was saying at the time always was he's worth drafting as a wide receiver 2 because you could end up getting a wide receiver 1 at the cost of a wide receiver 2. And the downside is that you just lose a guy, right? It's no different than if a guy gets injured or something. The downside is he disappears and you lose him. But I think that's okay because there's like 40 wide receiver 2.5s out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Argument, right? And I'll tell you, this weekend I had to replace Josh Gordon in two of my leagues, and I was able to put in guys like Will Fuller in one, Sammy Watkins in another, and look at that. I had a couple of wide receivers on my bench ready to go because there's so many wide receivers. Everybody's deep at wide receiver, so take a chance on one of the special ones and settle for everybody else. And so far, we saw the worst of what it means to own Josh Gordon, but we saw the downside. It was totally manageable.
Yeah, well, who knows? I mean, he's going to end up on a team, and we don't even know if he's going to be able to master the playbook. I mean, he's been playing in the same system for so many years that he hasn't been playing, So we'll see if he can join the Patriots and keep up with, all the timing and all the intricacies of a Patriots offense. It's hard to tell. I mean,
yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I definitely do not know enough about football to tell you how a team gets a player on the same page, whether it's like a vastly reduced, simplified thing. Like, you could say conceptually, like, let's say Gordon manages to get traded to New England, which was the latest suitor for him. If you were to describe that offense, you would say, well, all these other guys do all these possession things. And then Josh Gordon is a guy who gives them a deep threat. He gives them like a heavy hitter. It's a guy that you got to account for, right? And, I think if a player is that special, which I believe he is, I think you can't compare him to when they acquired Randy Moss, but like you can think along those lines about like Randy Moss. Like if you acquired Randy Moss yesterday and then had to play him today, you'd tell him, yeah, go ahead, just run a fly, right? Or like, don't worry about what the playbook says, just run a post, right? Like he's Randy Moss. I think with Josh Gordon, you can do something like that. And then maybe over time, over the course of the season, you can work him in more and more. But, there's still a lot of mouths to feed. So it might be kind of thing he gets 3-4 targets and let's see if he makes something with them,
Yeah, I mean, I think Josh Gordon right now to any team is they're considering him to be a flyer.
Yeah, but I mean,
a flyer with great upside, right? So right. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I was willing to draft him because he seemed like he was in good shape at the end of training camp. I'm a little less bullish on him now because the team released him after being in his corner for so many years. I need to see it for a couple of weeks first before I even start him in a lineup.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair.
I feel a little differently, but we posed the question: Des Bryant or Josh Gordon, most fantasy points going forward. Since they're both not in the league right now, it's hard. It's an easy. It's a good bet to make. But
yeah, man, it's almost a good bet. More fantasy points: Josh Gordon or Le'Veon Bell. Who knows right now?
Le'Veon Bell or Josh Gordon or Des Bryant. So
yeah, well, yeah, that's a more reasonable one. I was just trying to bring some comedy. Jeff,
Josh Gordon or Austin Seferian-Jenkins going forward.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. We got a couple things. So that's the thing. So this is how big the Josh Gordon story is, that we're this long into the show and we haven't even talked yet about Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In the case of Tampa, everybody thought that they were going to stink, but lo and behold, they're great. Week one, we just thought, New Orleans. I said, New Orleans just had a flaw that they were able to exploit. But now it looks like, nope, that was really Tampa doing that. Same thing with Kansas City. I mean, even people that were optimistic about Pat Mahomes weren't this optimistic, right? Actually, that's not true. I kind of was. I kind of said that this would happen.
You've been all in. Yeah, you've been all in on Mahomes.
Yeah, man. And so, but okay, so let's two situations here. How do you proceed with them going forward? Because in Tampa, we thought everybody was just left for dead, but suddenly, they all seem pretty real. There's 3 credible wide receivers and no credible running backs you can start in Tampa. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I think everyone may have underestimated the Buccaneers, but I think what we have to realize is that they're kind of like the Detroit Lions a little bit, and they're going to run the ball through the air. And I think
and the Lions don't ever put up 40 points to make sure there's enough for everybody the way Tampa has so far, right?
I think Tampa Bay Fitzpatrick is sort of like he's in improvement mode still. He doesn't want Jameis to take over the job, and I don't think he will, man. I think this is Fitzpatrick's team until he gets hurt.
Yeah, that's fair. The thing is, we have seen this before from Fitzpatrick. We have seen eventually it comes to an end, and I fully believe that Ryan Fitzpatrick could be a better quarterback for this team than Jameis Winston. I don't care about Jameis Winston anymore, right? But you got to look at, maybe now it's 2 games. Now everybody catches on that this is real. And now maybe it's well, you know what? Now they have 7 division games left, and maybe at some point maybe the fact that they don't have a running back catches up to them, and so there are ways that the wheels can fall off. But week 3 going forward, you have no choice but to take all of those guys pretty seriously. I would say not quite as high as they've been scoring, but somewhere between what they've been doing and where you had them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're the Rams or anything, but I on a fantasy angle, like you got to feel good about Mike Evans now as their legitimate wide receiver one.
Mm-hmm.
I would even feel comfortable putting Godwin in a flex.
Yeah.
I feel good about it. And if Jameis was the quarterback, I'd have to be a little skeptical first. I don't know why. I know the Buccaneers coaching is terrible, I guess, but at the same time, ride the hot hand here. Let's ride with Fitzpatrick for as long as it's possible.
I'm sure they will. There's really no reason to like force this Jameis Winston as a franchise guy thing anymore. I don't think Tampa's any more interested than anyone else, right? But
if anything, the Buccaneers will be a good at quarterback this year because I think Jameis has a fire lit under him now that the team is not his.
Yeah,
he has more to prove than Fitzpatrick right now. So I
don't think any of this stays going if Jameis comes back. I think this is a Fitz magic thing or whatever you want to call it. I just wonder. So, like I said, if I had any, the way I look at it is we thought Evans was like a lower end wide receiver one. Now I'm kind of regretting ever wanting Devontae Adams over him, right? And Godwin was like a pretty popular, like this guy could be a sleeper, this guy could be a somebody. And he is so far, but we figured that he would be because we wrote off Deshaun Jackson completely. And Deshaun Jackson's been the best receiver in football the first 2 weeks of the season. So I mean maybe Michael Thomas, but after then Deshaun Jackson's been like the next best. Yeah. And so it's like, like all three of these guys are playable. At some point it'll level out. It'll turn out that one of them will be the odd man out, probably more like Detroit, but you gotta take him seriously.
I will say I give you props for Mahomes because I obviously knew the talent, but I was worried about the interception to touchdown rate and maybe some maturity needed to take place. But you would say, like, looking at our best ball team, we drafted Pat Mahomes, we drafted Michael Thomas. I want to kind of go back and take a look at how it's doing.
Yeah.
But I have some shares in Fitzpatrick in some of those best ball leagues because I drafted Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, and Fitzpatrick just to be covered. So I really have some good Fitzpatrick action. But
good. Well, yeah, it made sense to be ready, but you didn't count on this happening, right? And now let's talk about Kansas City as well. So look, on the one hand, they look fantastic. On the other hand, it's too good. They're going to have bad days. They're going to have bad games, right? It won't always be this good. Mm-hmm. But I mean, who knows? Kansas City is going to be fun to watch, but I figured this would be a good reason. Let's segue in on 2 weeks into the season. We are going to look back on some bold statements that we've made and see how we're doing so far. And let's take the temperature of how good we still feel about them.
I think I'm looking really bad, actually.
Well, let's see. Let's start with one of our big bets is Kansas City versus LA Chargers. Basically, quarterback, running back, wide receiver one from Kansas City and from LA. I picked Kansas City. Pat Mahomes, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill. Jeff picked Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, and Keenan Allen. And so far, 2 weeks into the season, Kansas City's ahead, but not by a lot. Rivers has been great, but Mahomes has been outstanding. Keenan Allen's been pretty good, but Tyreek Hill had that one super huge day. And Melvin Gordon's been great, and Hunt's been okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It comes down to Mahomes and Hill, and then I got Melvin Gordon right now. It's keeping me alive. But, I definitely would want to revisit this. But I like Mahomes' swagger, man. I like the way he plays, his arm. I feel like everything he releases, it's going to, be a big play. It's really fun.
He seems ready for it. He seems like, I talk a lot about rookies being young and new to their job and yada, 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 right? But, he has had that year of sitting on the bench and working as a backup and stuff like that. And
trade him right now. Trade Mahomes while his value is as high as it is.
I mean, do you, or does where you drafted him seem like a bargain now?
Oh, it's already a bargain, but
right. So that's the thing. Everybody who reached for him has suddenly been rewarded.
Yeah.
In which case, I feel like he's still really good value. I don't know. Because also it is quite a luxury to get this many points from a quarterback. It's great. It's like Deshaun Watson owned his last year, right? Deshaun Watson, who's not yet been Deshaun Watson, but we can talk about him later. Let's go over some more things that we've done. Our second big bet, we had at the tight end position, each of our all-in players, each of our all-in tight ends I picked Evan Engram, and Jeff picked David Njoku, and it was just head-to-head, more fantasy points. And so far, Njoku hasn't done much. Engram had one bad game and one good game, so he's ahead right now. But hey, who knows?
He scored a garbage time touchdown last night, very late last night.
He did, but he played well that game. He was one of the only good players in that game. But yeah, TBD so far, 1-0 Engram, but TBD, let's say. We didn't make this a big bet, but we were both, when we picked like a mid-first round superstar to be all in on, Jeff picked Saquon Barkley and I picked Alvin Kamara. And I think the implications that we were both saying, I said Kamara at 5, and Jeff was saying Saquon Barkley at 5, and we were both saying our running back at 5 over Antonio Brown, right? So that was sort of a big statement. 2 weeks in, do you still feel how do you feel about Barkley versus Kamara?
If you're in PPR, I feel okay.
Yeah.
Because it looks like the Giants threw to Barkley 18 times last night. I think he had like 14 receptions, maybe 15 receptions. So
yeah, I think it was like 12, right?
Something like at least 12. So you're looking good on that front, but it really concerns me because Eli Manning just doesn't look good. So, Kamara and Breeze, they have their connection, and I think the O-line of the Saints is what it is. It's a better O-line than the Giants. Mm-hmm. I think it's tough, man. Barkley has the athleticism to still break through and just do it on his own, but I'm a little more concerned about him after watching that Cowboys-Giants game last night.
Yeah, I mean, that was not a good look. But you don't think you think this is as bad as they'll be all year? You don't think they get better at all? You don't think Barkley gets going?
You got to do more against the Cowboys.
What's that?
You got to put up more offense against the Cowboys. So yeah,
fair enough. I don't know if it's an indictment yet. I think they can do better. But I picked Kamara, and I feel good about Kamara. He's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm feeling good about that. So let's go through some other guys, some of our all-in players. You had a couple guys that you picked that I think were bold calls at the time. They've been looking good so far. 2 wide receivers, John Brown and Kenny Stills.
Nice.
Both providing value. If you listen to Jeff and pick them where Jeff was aiming to get them, you're probably really happy with them right now. Jeff, great picks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was willing to reach on John Brown and even Kenny Stills. And Stills, I don't think he did much yesterday, but he's very involved in the offense. John Brown seems to potentially be Flacco's favorite target. So those are great values wherever they were, where they were drafted properly.
Yeah. I think that John Brown, I think in Baltimore, there's a lot of pretty good targets, right? Because like Crabtree's still there, Buck Allen, there's like 5 tight ends. And but I think John Brown is like the big play guy of all the people that get action there. And then in Miami, it's the reverse. They don't even seem like they're interested in bringing Devontae Parker back. They think that they have what they need just with Kenny Stills. So
I wonder if Tannehill is going to become a guy to stream, a streamable quarterback because it looks good so far. And the Dolphins may feel like they have something to prove this year. Kenyan Drake looked all right. I saw him score yesterday.
He's another guy that we've talked about a lot in preseason. I think so far, I would say TBD. I think he looks pretty good, and he's gotten a pretty good amount of the work. But he hasn't done well enough for me to take any credit, and he hasn't done poorly enough for me to have to defend him.
RB2. He's an RB2. He's a mid-range RB2.
Right now. Yeah. Some other guys on our list. Marcus Mariota not looking so good for you right now?
Good. No, not feeling good. Not looking good, not feeling good. I mean,
yeah, exactly. His elbow's not looking or feeling good. He's the elbow of your all-in list. Yeah. But and then 2 guys that I put on my list. We haven't really seen anything in Nick Chubb yet. TBD, but for now and no, obviously. Calvin Ridley had a pretty good week 2. He had a good Sunday after doing nothing in the first game. So still to be determined, but these are 2 guys that we also picked. So
it was nice to see Matt Ryan put up some points finally. So maybe he's going to get over his red zone hijinks there, and maybe he's got Ridley, he's got Julio, and now without Freeman, they will be throwing more.
Yeah. What do you think of Tevin Coleman, by the way?
I didn't see his numbers. I didn't even watch him yesterday.
16 rushes for 107 yards.
Wow.
And he there were like 4 or 5 like chunk plays in there.
Yeah, he's an efficient runner. I feel like I don't know how the number in front of me, but his yards per carry, I bet it was pretty decent over the last few years. I think the Falcons will still be a good team. They lost a couple of big guys on defense, but there's no reason why their offense can't score at least 21 a game minimum.
Yeah. So I think my feeling with Tevin Coleman is so you know how guys like Chris Harris, whatever, Chris Harris is sort of lukewarm on him and makes him seem like he's more just an opportunity guy. And I never thought that, but I could never really explain why. I see what Harris sees. Like there's a lot of things that he does pretty well, but not as well as the best guys do. And there are even some things that he kind of can be a little bit, he seems to stumble a lot, you know? Like it's weird sort of things like that, right? But then he also hits holes and makes his way through them.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's not even going that fast. It looks like there's less room than there is. It looks like a guy's about to tackle him, and he just all of a sudden he's 8-9 yards down the field, and you're like, how does he do it? How does he do it? Like whatever it is, when there's a crease, he just cuts through it like butter. And it's like, I don't know. It's like he's a ghost, and they can't see him. I don't know why.
I think he's a rich man's Bilal Powell.
Oh, I think he's better than Bilal Powell.
Yeah, he's a rich man's Bilal Powell. But I think like this is like what Bilal Powell would aspire to be is Tevin Coleman.
Okay, I get it. I guess the difference is when I see Bilal Powell play, I see that he is like he does what he does because he works hard and he does everything correctly and stuff like that, right? He's just like a professional. I see the work in progress. With Tevin Coleman, when he makes he'll make a 12-yard run that for 11 yards, I thought he was going to get tackled, and it just seemed like everybody waited. You know, it's like I don't know how he does it. He's good though, and with Tevin Coleman, the thing I'm worried about is that not that I'll have been wrong, but that I will have been right about something, and I didn't listen to myself. Because if you remember correctly, this would have been the 4th year in a row I could have had Tevin Coleman waiting for him to inherit the job, and then I didn't do it. I let him go, and I didn't get him back, and now all of a sudden he got the job, and I feel like. I mean, I'm happy as a Falcons fan, but as a fantasy owner, I could use it right now.
He may not be on the Falcons next year, right? He's a free agent. He could wind up in Pittsburgh. He could wind up in San Francisco.
Yeah, he's starting to make me really wish I kept him.
Yeah. Do you want to
not to? But that's fine. I told you to draft Josh Gordon, so let's call it even.
How did you do in your leagues this week?
I had maybe my best week ever. I went 3-0, which doesn't happen. Which maybe has never happened because I mostly haven't played in 3 leagues. But like, yeah, it was the first time I've ever gone 3-0. I had a huge score in our league, and I had big scores in my other. It's never been this good. I'm afraid for next week now because
it's very hard to go 3-0 because you have players that are playing against you as well. So you want to make sure that they don't go too crazy in some situations.
Yeah, of my 3 matchups, the one that was the closest, like my opponent had a really good week too. I was a little bit confused because I had Evan Engram on one team, and he was on the team that was most a threat to beat me that week, and so I'm like, I was sort of trying to run up the score in one league, but also I was rooting against him in another, so it was kind of.
I guess I'm happy to report that I destroyed in the FFPC. I destroyed the guy, and I had the 3rd most points for. My only closing thoughts for this episode is that I'm a little worried about David Johnson.
Yeah,
because I feel the Cardinals do not have an identity as an offense. They look so boring, and I'm a little worried that David Johnson's not going to return 3rd overall value for me. Touchdown.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think though. So let me ask you then, as a David Johnson, so as someone who doesn't own David Johnson in any leagues, I see him as someone that I would like to acquire as a buy low.
Yeah.
But what I don't know is would I want to do that now, or would I want to wait until later into the season, maybe the trade deadline, and then I don't have to worry about RB2 value anymore because now I'm getting him to be my RB2. But if I wait, I might not make my team better and never get to that position anyway. So what do you think? If you're trying to buy low on David Johnson, do you buy low in week 2 or week 3, or do you buy low in week 10?
You're trading Pat Mahomes and like Alvin Cook for DJ, maybe like Pat Mahomes and Jay Ajayi for DJ, something like that.
You want to trade Pat Mahomes for DJ now?
I don't think I would, but I'm thinking that's something that could be a value that people are looking at.
I don't know if I'm a Mahomes owner if I'd want to do that because you'd be selling Mahomes high and buying low. You know what I mean? It'd be like you'd be buying low and selling high at the same time.
You were desperate for so if you have Leonard Fournette or you have someone that is not looking great right now, and you have a comparable quarterback too, who's like Matt Ryan.
I think if you have Fournette, I think that's a smart move. You know, Fournette plus something for DJ, or Fournette and a worse bench player for DJ and a better, or you know what I mean, or whatever, you know what I mean, right? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But I think, I'm in a position right now. I could kind of use DJ. Exciting, come on.
Let's take us out here. Take us out.
All right. Thank you for joining us on another episode of The Unintangibles. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back on Thursday. Hope to see you there.